Happy Spring Cleaning Week, everybody, and a massive welcome to Tara Button, who is founder and chief executive of BuyMeOnce. Hello, Tara.
Hello, lovely to be here.
It's really lovely of you to come. We're very grateful to you for giving us your time. We're going to talk a little bit about BuyMeOnce and that sort of thing, and a bit about Spring Clearing Week. But before that, can I ask you, I know that you've done a bit of decluttering yourself at home, and I'd really like to hear from you, not about what you did and how you did it, but what were the specific benefits for you as a result of that process?
Well, I'm incredibly naturally messy. I have ADHD, I forget where I put things, I kind of start one task and then start another task and then start another task and never really finish anything, and that's kind of my natural way of being, and it comes with wonderful creative benefits, but it does mean that I find it hard to keep my my surroundings tidy, and it does stress me out to kind of see the clutter every day. You can feel a kind of a raise in your stress levels, and it doesn't help with the distraction levels either, especially if you're easily distracted. So what I found is that when I did declutter and let things go and became more aware of where things should be, it just made the tidying up process, when I did tidy up, it made it much quicker, which was really nice. And it also meant that there was less there to get messy. There was less for me to work with, so it naturally created a kind of calmer environment, especially in my bedroom. My husband was also much less stressed out by my mess, so it was nice for him as well. In general, it led to general kind of mental well-being, and also aesthetically much more pleasing.
That's really lovely to hear. Calmer, mental well-being better, husband happy, easier,
all the good things.
Yeah, that's lovely to hear. And it kind of feels a bit ironic that we're having this conversation, because we're here to celebrate Spring Clearing Week, that's all about. It's not about getting rid of the cobwebs and letting in the light. It's about letting go. It's about this process of letting go of the stuff that we no longer need and stuff that doesn't align with our life, and then enjoying the space in the way that you just described. And so I don't want to kind of trivialize this, but it feels a bit weird to be having a conversation with someone who's all about shopping.
It's very true. There's a kind of oxymoronic aura around the whole thing, and that's what I found when I was writing my book about how to shop, is that I was very aware that what I wanted was for people to realize that it's not all about stuff, and actually stuff is there to serve you, not the other way around. And I think that we can end up being slaves to our stuff very easily, and all of the messaging that we get from everywhere in the world is to buy more, and that it can very easily get out of hand. So it is a kind of irony that I am probably one of the only shopkeepers in the world that is telling people not to buy things.
You are, aren't you? I mean, is it? Tell us your story. Is it a kickback to mindless consumerism? Is that what your ethos is? Is that what it's about?
It's exactly that. It's the flip side of mindless consumption. So I actually call my process mindful curation, because it's the opposite of mindless. It's about taking the time to think things through, and it's curation because, a little bit like a art gallery owner picks every single piece in their gallery they're also thinking about the big picture of what all those pieces together mean and the effect that they're going to have on the people in the space, including themselves. And so that is what I'm trying to persuade people to move towards.
That's beautiful. I love that word, curation. And there's something about curating our homes. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And what there's a Le Creuset story, isn't there?
There is. So this is how this all begun. It's a bit crazy in a way to think that a cooking pot changed my life, but it did. I was given this incredible, beautiful, as anyone knows who's owned a Le Creuset, beautifully made heirloom cooking pot. And when I started using it, I realized that a lot of the things that I'd brought into my life up to that point were just, just for now, this will do, I'll just pick something up and this will do the job for a few months or a couple of years. And when I got this pot, I thought, well, I've been buying wrong this whole time. Like, this is the way to buy something that is worthy of being taken care of, something that I will pass down to my grandchildren. And it just gave me this visceral feeling of pleasure and well-being as an object. It does its job beautifully, and so I just started to look for other things that I could buy that were similar. So when I decided to bring something into my life, it would be something that I was bringing in for the long term. And so I went looking for a website that brought all of these long-lasting heirloom items together, and I didn't find one. So I was like, well, this should exist. And then I found out about the environmental side of long-lasting products. People don't realize that buying for the long term is one of the best things they can do for climate change. For example, if you get an average t-shirt and you make it last just 9 months longer, you save 20 to 30% in your carbon emissions. And that's just a t-shirt. So you can imagine if you roll this out over all of the products, the 300,000 products that the average person has in their lives. And if you think about, making everything last just that bit longer or a few years longer or a decade longer, that must have massive implications for the climate. So that's when the fire and the passion really started in me. And I went about building BuyMeOnce to find the longest lasting and most sustainable products on the planet. And the idea is, don't buy things that you don't need. If you do need something, buy for the long term. And here are all the best things you can buy.
And if we only want to buy stuff that we need and is long lasting and good for the planet, how do we do that with BuyMeOnce? What specifically happens?
Well, BuyMeOnce is a tool to help you find the longest lasting stuff. We do all the research for you, essentially. So we look into every product category and we ask, well, which is the best in show in this product category? We might not find something perfect, but we'll find the best brand available at the moment. And then we try to persuade the whole industry to do better if we don't think that there's anything good enough. And we look at the materials, we look at the aftercare, we look at the way it's constructed. Is it more fixable, for example? To try and get people to find the longest lasting thing. There's so many things kind of ranged against us when it comes to buying for the long term. So all of the media manipulation, all of the marketing manipulation out there that's trying to persuade you to refresh and chuck out the old and on with the new. There's a lot of status anxiety and guilt that goes into trying to get people to buy new things. A lot of pester power, a lot of pressure from our families. And so it's about giving you the tools to shield yourself against those manipulations, so that you figure out what you actually want to bring in your life and which items are going to bring the most value to you. Then there's a stage of looking at your own personal style and your kind of vision for how you want your wardrobe to look like and what you want your home to look like, so that you can make good long-term purchasing decisions. So when you're in a shop, it's not about impulse buying, it's about, well, I've looked into color and I know that these types of colors really suit me, or I love having these types of colors in my home, or I love this texture of this material next to my skin, or I love these shapes, so that you end up doing that curation so that every piece that you bring in then works with all the other pieces to create a kind of a whole that makes sense and that's going to make you happy. What's wonderful, I have to say, is that there are fixing cafes that have been popping up all over the country. They're called the Restart Project. And what's amazing is that it's people who just are very passionate about fixing. And you can come along with your toaster, have a cup of tea, have some cake, and these amazing people will fix your toaster for you for free. What's annoying is that a lot of companies at the moment to make toasters that are built to break and then actually built not to be fixed. So they're built for quick assembly, but the screws, for example, are security screws that normal people can't get into. So you can't take it apart and fix a spring. So that's the kind of element that we would look at BuyMeOnce, and we would find toaster companies that have put in their design a more fixable design so that you can use normal screws and make sure that they offer parts for the foreseeable future as well.
So it's almost like you're saying that BuyMeOnce has quite a strong, do you have quite a campaigning element to your
Absolutely. Yeah, we're a movement. We're not a shop. We're a movement that's trying to, our whole mission is to change the way that consumers shop and think about products and think about and push it towards long-term buying. But it's not just about changing consumer behavior, it's also about changing brand behavior. So trying to persuade brands to add fixing guarantees. We have actually managed to persuade brands to change their factories because we weren't happy with the quality that was coming out of their new factory. So we were like, we know this isn't as good as it was, and they actually changed back to their previous factory because the quality was much better. So it's really amazing to be able to push forward that agenda both with consumers and with brands.
This is fantastic. And does that extend to working conditions as well for the people in the people that go about making these things?
Absolutely. So that's definitely part of our criteria. So we would always give preference to brands who are fair trade or, definitely have ethical working conditions. We wouldn't consider a brand that didn't have ethical working conditions, for sure.
What kind of things would you suggest that they were thinking about as they go through this process of decluttering?
I think what I would like people to have in mind is use the decluttering process as a way of figuring out what kinds of products you do want to keep for the long term. You know what you've already decided to keep, through the decluttering process. So try and look at them and go, what qualities do these products all have in common? What materials are they made out of? What types of feelings or activities do these products allow me to do that I am obviously drawn towards? And so kind of use the decluttering process as to build up your toolbox for the future, so that when you do then come to buy something in the future when you need it, you already have this kind of backlog of information about what types of products you will then definitely keep for the long term. So have that in your head and buy a list of things that you don't need. That's a very fun and empowering tool, and it also helps you develop gratitude for the things that you already have. Yes. So when I wrote a list of things that I don't need, we're always writing things of lists that we want. Yeah. Things that you don't need, like I don't need matching mugs. I don't need any more throw cushions. I don't need any more kitchen gadgets. And actually writing this list, it means it sticks in your head when you do go out to buy, and it kind of gives you that just little nudge that you need to not impulse buy. And that's all that we generally need, is just a little stop and go, oh no, actually no, I already decided I don't need those. So That's very helpful.
That's such useful advice. I'm going to borrow that next time I'm in someone's house and we're talking about shopping. Tara, this has been wonderful. It's been a real pleasure to hear you, and thank you for all your top tips